you had to make a decision, not a decision, but a choice what you were going to do with your life. And if that involved getting deeper into the spiritual aspect, then you went off and lived in the mother town for as long as it took. There was no set time limit. And when they were establishing the town, there were 3 levels of concerns. I couldn't think of another word that had to be taken into account. And the first one were the people's concerns, and then pretty simple. Do you have access to water? Back in the Ohio River Valley, in Columbia, and after the Smoky Mountains, that was easy. There were rivers and streams everywhere, so they didn't have to search too hard for that. Second concern was trees, or that could be translated as building material. The trees, I'll get off into that in the white class. The third concern was space for gardens. Was there good enough quality of soil where you could plant gardens, and if not, what we're going to have to do to make the soil suitable. And I saw this program the other night on PBS. It was really cool. If you've been watching it, Wild.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating?
There's been a couple of them.
But this last one was about the South American rainforest and the latest discoveries they've made due to illegal loggers. Who would have thought they'd have a beneficial use? They've uncovered areas of the jungle where there are what's left of these huge buildings. Huge, I mean massive size. So there was clearly a civilization here before the Spaniards came. What a surprise. And, okay, the jungle soil is so bad, how could they possibly have existed? And what they discovered as they were clearing around these, what were cities, not even towns, cities, they used compost. They created the soil. They made the soil.
Human manure.
And their trash and everything, and then burning. And it was really a fascinating program. It's worth a watch if you can catch it. So, and was the area large enough for 10,000 people?
Why 10,000?
That was the limit. When you hit 10,000, then you had to split in half and create another town. Just exactly why. They got all kinds of anecdotal evidence, but the best thinking is that in this like forest area, at 10,000 people, you've made a pretty good impact. And beyond that, now your impact goes from, we got our town to now you're destroying everything around you. You've hit what's called carrying capacity. And so 10,000 was the number. No, and not just Cherokee, all the Eastern Woodlands tribe. 10,000 was it. You couldn't go beyond that. And it was not.
Keep track of?
Yeah. Yeah. These guys.
Okay.
That come under their duty.
But that would be really large in that day and time.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That would be huge.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a mountainous region, you know, you've just pretty much used up the valley. You know, now you're stressing the water resources and everything. Okay, now on top of these concerns, you know, when you found all this stuff, then you had to add on the Whitefire's concerns. And their concerns were, now we're going to the next level of existence here. No, that's not the word I want to use. Is there any sacred space or sacred places nearby? And if there are, that's cool because now you don't have to create one. If there's not, then you have to create.
You know I will. How does that, I don't know how that happens.
We'll get there.
Okay.
The second concern is the fire. Where do we place the fire? Yeah. You don't make a new fire. You make this fire from the coals of the fire at the mother town or whatever town it is dividing. The fire, even though we make it new every time, you leave the ashes, that counts. That these ashes come from there. It's an energetic thing. And there's a method to finding this, because from here is where you establish the ceremonial ground. That fits around the town. Now the ceremonial ground, you would think, is the first thing that gets set up, but it's not. It comes after the people get their shelters or houses set up. But you got to find this first. You got to find it. And you remember the day and time when you're doing all this, because that's the celebration of the new town from that point forward. But that date is the date that you find where that goes. On that day. Then there's a third level of consideration, and that's where me and my guys come in. And I'll have to explain these as we go along, because your initial response is going to be like, what? Is the location defensible? You know, for guys like that have been off to war and stuff, that's just look around and say, okay, how can it be accessed to this, that, and the other? higher level to this, and is it defensible on the physical plane? Is it defensible on the spiritual plane? And are we able to establish a defensive perimeter that's going to protect the spirits and the souls of everyone in this town? And, kind of like this, okay, we can make that. But we need to know the terrain to find out what we have to do here to make it. Now, on a good day, it's already done. That never happened.
What would be your criteria? If you went into a space, what would you want to know that something's defensible? What would you say? How would you identify that? I know it says the physical and the spirit, but I don't know what the...
Okay, we got this. We got this.
Okay.
We got this. We got this. And, we'll get this. All right? And then we'll make that if it's not there. The white fire will do that. Set this. Okay, once this is established, see, this is where the problem can come in. Because the people, and that includes all of us, all right, we got all of this. And then when they go looking for the spot to do this, it may be outside the realm of the space you're considering. It may be outside there. Okay, then you got to really do a lot of work creating this, and the white fire's job is not to maintain that. It's just to create it. After that, it's up to the people to maintain it. Okay, the people are busy. They got jobs. They got families. So it comes down to here. Okay, what do I need to protect that from? The enemy coming over the hill. First place everybody's mind goes. But the way the entire culture was structured, every man was supposed to have 7 wives. Every woman was supposed to have 7 husbands. Now, if you take your mind beyond the gutter, you could not have more wives than you could support. Okay? When we think of that, like, wow, man's going to have a whole bunch of jobs to do this. In the Cherokee culture, everything belonged to the woman. The house, the children, the garden, everything. When a man married a woman, he moved to her town. Her family built her a house or added on to the family house that they had. The man was supposed to be out hunting, doing the heavy lifting in the garden work, like tilling, getting it all ready for planting, heaving. That's close. getting it ready for planting, and then one thing was on the bottom of the list, what the men were supposed to be doing. The first thing they were supposed to be doing was community service. And that was where it was called Gadoozy. And that would literally translate as to it's going to sound silly, so I'm going to have to explain it. Making the bread. The town, any town, was known as the Gaduha, the place of the bread. Okay, that's the literal translation. What it actually means, bread is, in order to make bread, the women required shelter. They required that you make the corn, you grow the corn and everything, so they could grind it to make the bread. There's a whole big thing involved here. So what it's telling you is this is a community. This is a community where everybody is working together to do this one simple thing: make bread. Bread feeds you. You know, you won't starve when you got the bread. There's all those connotations behind it. And so the Gadoogy is the unit in that town that ensures that the women are always able to make bread. And if you end up in a physical war, these people, and they swear an oath when they get into the Gadoogy, and I don't know if the ancient Cherokees count time the way we do, but it was estimated that the Gadoogy would give you 10 minutes. That means if the enemy comes raiding into the town, you're caught totally unprepared, which should never happen. But if it does happen, these people, and I'm sure you've heard about it, maybe seen it in a movie or two, you notice the warriors always carried their knife around their ankle. There was a reason for that. In this moment of sheer chaos, when the enemy has snuck in, they'll take it and stick it in the ground, and then I will not move from this spot until every woman, every child, and every elder person has had time to get to safety. So that is why during the ceremony, people that are members of that get fed first. They get their plates first. And as soon as they're finished, they serve everyone else. But it's the one time during the ceremony, it's the one time when the people give back to them, honoring them for what they do already and what they promise to do if it's necessary. And it happens. But way out in the so we'll go through our list of, do we have water available?
Yes.
I mean, where everyone would have access to it.
So long as there's electricity, there's water.
See? And there's a thing, so long as there's electricity.
Mm-hmm.
The criterion was that it has to be right there, available for anybody, anytime. Do we have that? No. All right. Trees. Do we have trees?
Kind of.
No.
What did you call those? Trees. Those are trees back there.
We have building material.
But that's what I was going to say. We do have that.
Yeah.
Because you got to look at where you are.
Yeah.
All right. So we have that. Do we have space for gardens?
Yes.
Yes. Do we want to fit 10,000? No.
There's no, but hell no.
That's not necessarily true.
And shelters will come with this. So, on the concerns of the people, we're pretty good everywhere except
What
right
else
here.
in order of importance?
Pretty much.
That's kind of a primary concern, right? So, what would they have done back then? Well, they would have dug a well. Simple enough. They would have dug a well.
Mm-hmm.
We could do that here, it'd be real hard work. So, we can just call that one ballast.
It may actually be possible because there's areas in the riparian area that if you went down 30, 50 feet, you probably could store enough water, maybe.
It's called permaculture.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. And there's ways that desert people capture water.
Yep.
All the time. We're in a desert, so like I say, we'll call it pretty well balanced. If we put out the effort, we can get the water.
Yeah.
The water is available. All right, so we're good there. So now we get to the white fire problem. Gotta have water. All right, we solved this issue. The priest here, just because he can, is going to say, okay, in that case, this has to be on the west side of the water source.
Hmm.
And that goes back, way back to, light creation. Everything came from the east, from the light. So, water is that veil that separates the dimensions, that separates the worlds. We have to pass through water to get into this world. I don't remember, but apparently all babies have to wait till mama's water breaks, which means they've been like hanging out in water for 9 months. You got to pass through the water to get here. So now that we're here, anything that involves the spiritual or the sacred or any kind of like deep down intentional work, the ceremonial ground being that, it has to be to the west of the water source. Because you're going from the light to the dark, to the west. Because eventually, no matter how good you think you are, you gotta die. It's just one of those things. So you're going to die. You're not really going to die. Your body's going to die. And you're going on to another level of existence. So when you're looking for the ceremonial ground where to put it out here, then you're going to have to do this on the, we'll call this the, intellectual level. You know, you can just look and kind of figure this out in your head. Now it becomes a little more challenging. This has to do on the spiritual level. Because now you have to do this, you have to find this space with your the spirit, as they would say, on the emotional level. You've got to, for lack of a better word, feel it, sense it, understand within you, oh, this is a good spot. Or, no, this ain't so good. Which then throws us to us guys over here, where we got to combine the intellectual and the spirit to protect it. So, there's lots of ways to find this spot. Some people use a
Pendulum.
yeah, they have a word for what the dowsing, is that called?
Dowsing.
Douse it.
C-O-W.
Well, it's two W.
Yeah.
Two U's. They call it W, you know.
Wow. You can douse it. What is it when you just feel it? You
Into
just
it.
hear.
You know.
Into it.
Into it. There we go.
That's right.
What did they call it? Witching for water? Wasn't they used to call it that?
Yeah. Divining.
Intuitive.
Divine's a
They
good
didn't
word.
call it that anymore.
Now the favorite way of the Cherokees, after everyone went out, okay, and they doused it, they intuited it, they all this, that, and the other, and got together and said, well, you know, I think this should be the spot, and why, and then so on. Well, yeah, but this is what I, you know, and then, well, both of you, okay, you're on to something, but, and you work that, you talk until you're all talking the same thing, okay? And then you wait until you dream. And everybody should have a similar dream. They won't have the exact same dream. And you get together, you know, did you dream anything? I did. What did you dream? Well, this, and this. And the dream may sound like it has absolutely nothing to do with this. Because you got to shift them symbols out of symbolism and relate them to what you're working on. And we depend on each other to be able to do this. You know, we like to think we're good enough to figure it out on ourselves, and that's generally not even a good we try to go that way. And once everybody kind of hits that, okay, this is where the ceremonial fire should be, because it's within Lucia felt and dreamed this. Dave felt, doused, whatever he's going to do, this. Sam,
He's left field.
got this. Brian got this. Claire
In California.
got this. And you know, we just keep adding, and you'll notice the symbol of Cherokee is I know I'm going to get this one. It's terribly screwed up.
Uh-oh.
Like right away, I had managed to screw it up. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This kind of a close proximity of what the 7-pointed star looks like. Where the culture, where the being Cherokee exists, is here, where all these lines of the stars cross. This is where the fire is. It's this area here. So what we do is we do everything that we're going to do. And we come together and we discuss it. We dream it. Hopefully not argue about it, but that's part of the process too. And that ceremonial fire will always be there. It's going to be in the place that's equidistant from here, him, and him, and him. So that's how we're going to do that. And it's not a short process. You don't go out, only if you're very lucky do you go out and everybody does his thing, comes back, discusses it, goes home, and dreams about it, and it's all comes out. So if we're lucky, we might do that. But that's how it's done. Now, all of this, there's no rules to how that's done. There is no law. I have come across so many people. Well, if you're going to douse, you have to use a willow, 4-foot willow tree. Well, if you're going to douse, you have to use 2 copper. And they'll argue with each other, even though they end up in the same place. You know, they'll argue about, well, my way is right and yours wrong. Like, the hell? No. All roads lead to Rome. Yeah. So, basically, that's the process we're going to have to go through here. And the first thing we got to do is find out what is the area that we're searching in. And since you have made the offer, you got to tell us all what are the bounds of the area that we're searching to put this fire in.
Up on the neighbor's property.
Sometimes that happens. But, you know, well, back in the ancient times, sometimes all your work puts you in, say, like, Choctaw country.
Understand.
And, you know, simple enough, we just went to the nearest Choctaw town and said, hey, man, you know, our town's gotten too big and this is what we're doing, and in our process that got us here, what do you think? Since they used the similar process, they probably had no problem with it, and would probably help you set up on the understanding that if they're splitting the town later, if it comes out that way, there ain't no problem here. And it worked out, but in the culture and society we live in, that's pretty fucking unlikely. So, basically what you got to do is show us where it is, where we are within the bounds of where we're looking to do this.
I can do that.
And west is which way again? That way.
That way.
Interesting how we're covered by clouds.
Yes, wonderful.
So the water is like hanging out right above us.
Except they're not really clouds.
Well, that's for today. Let's go.
Sorry, I gotta call.
They were coming in this morning, though. When we drove out, there was a mass coming in.
100% chemical induced geoengineering.
Not all of them. There was a cloud bank came in
Yeah.
last night that was actually clouds.
Yeah.
They were scary looking, you know, like remember what clouds used to look like when the front was coming in, you know, kind of little billowy things, you know.
So do we want to?
Like stress my mind. Oh, those are really clouds. Wow.
Yeah, imagine that.
Endangered species now.
Yeah.
So do you want to go and walk around, or do you want to talk about it here now?
Walk around.
No, we gotta find that space. We're kind of past talking about this now.
All right.
Can't go any further until we find that space.